Do you remember the classic Chicken Kiev, maybe from the 80s, 70s? Depends how old you are. Crispy breadcrumbs with some gorgeous garlic butter. As you cut into it, it just oozes out. Well, I've recreated this and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. So easy, so tasty. Enjoy. Simple thing, garlic butter, or garlic and herb butter. It's essentially butter, garlic and herbs, surprisingly. Now what herbs go in depends on really what you want. There's no rule. Generally, maybe traditionally, it's going to be parsley with the garlic, but you could put rosemary, thyme, anything kind of quite aromatic like that. Possibly even basil. Traditionally, what you would do is chop up the garlic or mince the garlic, chop up the herbs, and then mix them into the butter. So the problem with this is you can get quite a harsh garlicness. But a way to just really amp up that flavour very, very easily is roast the garlic. Split it into the cloves. Take this, you can leave the skins on. Put it into a pan, some olive oil. So we just cook them on a very low temperature, maybe for half an hour or so, really just until they're really soft. And what that will do, one, it will infuse the oil with the garlic flavour, giving you garlic oil, which you can then use for a million different things, drizzling on pizza, I'm using it, over pasta. But also it's soft, you get these lovely soft, almost sweet. So you still get the garlic flavour, but there's this sort of richness and sweetness to it. And it's much sort of lovely garlic flavour to put in with the butter. The way to kind of get this, you can either do it with a knife, or the easiest thing, do it with your hand. So get all of these cloves out, and so we don't have to peel them at this point, because once they're cooked, the skins will just fall off. So essentially, once you've got all your cloves there, all we want to do is just really smash them a bit with a knife. What this will do, it will open them up a bit and just allow the oil to get inside the skins. So once you get all of these into the pot like this, just get some olive oil, and essentially you want enough olive oil. I'm not going to go, you need 250 millilitres of oil, but just enough olive oil, just sort of to cover them essentially, maybe a little bit more. And what you're going to do is put it on the hob, high heat to get the heat up, and then turn it down to low and leave it there for 30-40 minutes. Kind of the longer the better, but around that sort of time. Okay, so we put this on the hob. While that's heating up, what we'll do is we'll get some parsley. How much parsley? No exact science. Probably take your knife, it off, depending on how much of this garlic butter you want. Now the thing about the garlic butter is, once you've made it and you can put it in the fridge, it will last for as long as the butter lasts, really. You can use it over pasta, pretty much anything. That's probably about enough. Now with any herb, when it comes to chopping, you want the flavour in the dish, whatever you're doing, not left on the chopping board. So you want to chop it well, but you don't want to bruise it and leave all of the flavour on the chopping board. There is your parsley. What we're going to do next is basically mixing that with the roasted garlic and the butter, and then just season it to taste. And then that's basically, we put it in some cling film, roll it up and put that in the fridge to firm up. And then we said we can cut bits off of that as and when we need. So the garlic has now cooked. So we've got the garlic, taken it out of the oil. We're going to put this on here. So we can just take it out of the skin. The skin is quite crispy still, but the actual inside, you see, it's very, very, very soft and a lot sweeter than it would have been without cooking. So I'm just going to basically get these in here. If you've ever had roasted garlic, it's quite amazing. You can spread it on some toasted sourdough bread. So see what we got here, as you can see, it's almost like a garlic confit. You can now easily just, you can just squash this down, and it's amazingly sweet. So what we can do, get that back out again, and just to break it down, and it smells amazing. It hasn't got that horrible harsh garlic smell. What we can do is just chop this up as we would have done anyway. You can even use, as I said, if you now put this in a food processor, it's equally as good. But you get this kind of gorgeous, soft, almost sweet garlic flavour. It's absolutely stunning. And then this on hot bread is amazing. So we get this all kind of mushed up. There's a little bit of salt. And just using the knife, we just kind of mush it into this paste. This just stops again getting sort of chunks of garlic, because what we want a lovely perfumed garlic butter as opposed to a sort of a butter with the big chunks, even though it's nice and subtle flavour. So now we've got that kind of soft garlic kind of paste now. A little bit of black pepper. We've already got some salt in there. Basically, get the parsley in there, an exact measurement, but we're probably looking about that much, maybe just over. Again, get that. You want the butter to be room temperature at least. You don't want it to be straight out of the fridge, because you have to sort of mince up and mash up. And now it's just a case of mixing all of this up. It'll take a little bit of work. This will make the most amazing garlic and herb butter, which I said you can mix into or through pasta. You can put it, if you cook a steak, you can just cut a little piece off and put it over with vegetables, pretty much anything. You can even use it as a butter in a sandwich. Because you haven't got that harsh garlic flavour of raw garlic. Yes, you've got the garlic taste, you haven't got that harshness, and so this is a lot more gentle. So, you know, from a sandwich perspective, you could easily have that. So that's the kind of thing we're looking at, sort of mixed up. What we do now is get a spatula and get some cling film or plastic wrap. Spread this out on your board. I would say do this with your hands, but you end up with everything sticking to your hands, so it's not really ideal. So once you get all of the butter on the cling film, essentially you're going to make a kind of a sausage. So you can kind of roll this up as best you can into a sort of a sausage shape. So once you kind of get it into roughly a round shape, what we can do then is twist and roll. So we kind of make a rough, that's what we're sort of looking for, a rough kind of sausage, something like that. I said it's not exact. What we're going to do is put that in the fridge. That will then get that to firm up. So now we've got the herb and garlic butter effectively made. We've got the chicken cut. The next thing is to prepare the chicken, which we'll do in a moment. Traditionally, what you do is get the chicken breast, cut a small hole, put the butter inside, and then put the breadcrumbs, etc. What you're going to do today is a slightly different technique, but it allows you to kind of get more, almost more of a guarantee that the butter will not leak out. Essentially, what we're going to do is sort of going to butterfly the chicken out, hit it, and bring it down to quite a thin texture. Put the butter in the middle, then draw it up inside some cling film and make a kind of a ball with it. Again, in the fridge, let that firm up and it kind of seals itself. Once we've done that, we'll get in the flour, in the egg wash, in the breadcrumbs, back in the egg wash, back in the breadcrumbs. So we do a double breadcrumbs coating. Once that's done, we'll then fry them off to get the golden crispiness and then put them in the oven for about 15 minutes. We're going to be cooking potatoes with that. They're going to take roughly about half an hour in the oven. So what we do is we part boil the potatoes, toss them in the garlic oil that we used earlier and some salt and pepper, put them in the oven for about half an hour. And then we're just going to finish off with some grilled asparagus, and that's chicken Kiev with roasted potatoes and grilled asparagus. Simple, but lovely. So now we come to preparing the chicken. So as I said before, what we're going to be doing is essentially taking the chicken and bashing it down. Essentially we use a rolling pin and some cling film. That will, once spread it out, we can put the butter in the middle, pull it up into a sort of a ball that will seal it in, back in the fridge, help it seal, etc. Now normally you would have a chicken breast each, but I've got 2 chicken breasts and 2 chicken thighs. That's the chicken breast. See, they're quite big, but then the thighs are tiny. So even if you have 2 of those together, it's not the same. But what we're going to be doing is kind of making enough chicken for the next piece. So we're just going to take off this chicken tender off here, and on here, the same. As a rough thing, it's roughly the right size. Now, the reason is when we put it all together and then back in the fridge, it will sort of fuse together to a degree, but then once we've got it coated in the flour and the breadcrumbs, etc., it will hold the whole thing together. And so it won't all fall apart. And then once it's cooked, it will definitely fuse together. So not so much a worry. So what we do, we get these pieces back over here with this chicken and this one and this one. Wash hands. Also important to clean the bowl down, because that's going to have the cling film on. Always, always, always wash your hands. Cling film. Essentially, you want it enough to cover the board. It does help if the board is slightly damp as well, to keep it sort of stuck down in the same place. We're getting one of the chicken breasts like this. What we're doing is we're just making a slit kind of in like that. Once we've got that slit, again we're cutting slightly down and pushing, so like this. And what this is basically butterflying the chicken breast out, so now we've got a bit wider, and that just helps to start us off. Wash hands again. So another piece of cling film over the top of the chicken. Get the bad boy. Now you could use a meat tenderizer, that will be totally fine. Frying pan, or if you haven't got anything like this, at the bottom of a heavy saucepan. Essentially, what we're doing, we're just not bashing this out. Now we don't want this too thin, probably a centimetre or so. If we have it too thin, then it's going to essentially fall apart. You want it pretty even. But that's essentially what you're going for, an even thickness. Now you see a little bit thin here, a few holes here. That's totally fine. What we do is we lift off the top, just back like that. What I'd also just recommend is a little light seasoning of pepper. Now remember, the butter has got the salt in, it's got pepper in as well. But essentially what you're doing, you open this up, you're going to take probably that kind of amount and just put that in the middle. So what we'll do, we'll take this piece of cling film off, put that side down, because we can use that then for the next one. Put in our chicken over the top of that butter. Okay, like this. Now, kind of form it as much as you can into that kind of ball, like that. Then we take in the cling film and getting all the sides together like that, and then pinch it and twist. Twist it quite firm. That then is your chicken ready to go in the breadcrumbs, and that should then keep everything together. So there we have the 3 Chicken Kievs, pretty much the same size, all ready to go into the fridge to firm up a bit more. Then we're gonna flour, egg, breadcrumbs, prior to cooking. So final pieces of prep, potatoes. So we're going to be doing new potatoes, which traditionally maybe just boil them and put them maybe in a little bit of butter, salt and pepper. What we're going to be basically doing this time is roasting them, cut them in half, roasting them, and then but in the slightly bit of garlic oil that we cook the garlic. Don't bother peeling them, just in half in the pit. This way you're leaving the skins on, you're getting a kind of a nice flavour. Quantity, again it's a personal choice. I mean, it depends how many people you're cooking for, just have a look, really. And then essentially a little bit of salt in the water, part boil those for a few minutes or bring them up to the boil for a bit just to soften them. Then we just toss those in some of the oil and some olive oil, salt and pepper into the oven, sort of 25-30 minutes or so. When they go in, we can start doing the frying off the chicken. Then the chicken will go into the oven. Then generally, after the chicken's ready, you can take that and let that rest and then finish off the potatoes, so we're all good. Along with that is some cheeky asparagus. All we do is we basically just toss them in a little bit of olive oil, salt and pepper, and just put them under the grill. Simple as that. I'm not going to give you a time, 5-10 minutes, keep an eye on them, and then sort of just turn them over midway so they get colour on each side. If you time this all nicely, once you parboil the potatoes, get those in the oven, start with the frying, getting the pan off the chicken, fry the chicken off to get some colour, get that in the oven, get these all lovely ready to go, get the grill on. After about sort of 15-20 minutes, once the chicken's done, take the chicken out. Potatoes should have about another 10-15 minutes left. A few more minutes. Once that's looking like it's nearly done, put the asparagus under the grill. Once the asparagus is done, take that out, take the potatoes out, serve it. There we go, simple as that. Right, I've now boiled part-boiled the potatoes, so I'm just going to drain them. On the back of the pan, I'm just going to drizzle over a small amount of the garlic oil. I'm going to give them some salt and pepper. Give them a bit of a shake. Get them another tray. And then they can now go in the oven for half an hour or so. So now what we do is we get chicken done earlier with the garlic butter in the middle. Now get this coated in eggs, breadcrumbs with some lemon zest. What we need to do here is just get a couple of eggs. Just whisk these up just to get it incorporated. We'll just get some lemon zest. That lemon zest will just add a little bit of freshness. Because it's been in the fridge, it's been able to firm up. We just coat that in the flour. Get that into the egg, into the breadcrumbs, back into the egg, and then back into the breadcrumbs again. Onto the tray. Alright, so here we go. We've got the three all finished here. Fry these off, and then we're going to go in the oven. So we want a little bit of oil. And by frying them off, we're going to get some colour on there, get them crispy. Right, now that's nice and hot, I'm going to basically, in they go. So we tip off any excess breadcrumbs, in it goes. We'll probably do a couple at a time. The idea of this, we're not actually cooking them, we're just getting some colour on the outside. Once you've got some colour on, it's nice and crispy. Get that back on. One on there.
That's good.
little piece of baking parchment just to stop from sticking. Like this. Okay, nicely. There's our chicken. That's now ready to go into the oven. So while we're waiting for all that to go, we can now prepare the asparagus. So simple tray, some light olive oil over. So, and that's it. Essentially, all you're going to do is just mix it up so they're all coated. Then they're going to take about 5-10 minutes on the grill. Here we go. Asparagus grilled, potatoes roasted nicely. So what we want to do is just get under. Potatoes. Then, just to finish it off, a little squeeze of lemon juice. We have it.